Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines here. This is incredible. The CFTC Digital Asset Taxonomy. They've got it figured out, and it becomes a global footprint or blueprint for digital assets. We got that and so much more. I think we're getting very, very close now, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, look at this. $2.77 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 1.3%. Most people look at the 1.3%. They don't look at the 2.77 trillion that we're almost creeping back to 3 trillion now. We were just over 3 trillion at the cryptocurrency market cap high. This is why I'm showing this to you, because we're almost back to the all-time high for crypto market cap, but we're still 61 cents. Something's going to go off like a slingshot at some point here. 69,800 for Bitcoin right now, and it's looking at a new all-time high, it looks like to me, and 3,900 for Ethereum here, and 101 billion plus market cap for Tether. Oh my, oh my. Let's look at the range of price on XRP very quickly here before we get started. Ranging between 61 cents and 62 cents. That's more back to what we normally see as like a penny spread, 1 to 2 cent spread, right? So we'll keep an eye on it. We know we're close to seeing something one way or another. We'll keep an eye on it. But I'll tell you what else you're close to. 53 days till XRP Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you something. Andy Schectman from Miles Franklin is coming and going to be on stage with Lynette Zhang. And I don't mind telling you, these are gold bugs. You know this. And why are they coming to XRP Las Vegas? Because they recognize that there is a transition, a moment coming, a transformation. The new digital age is coming, and gold's going to be a part of it, and so is blockchain and distributed ledger technology, tokenization alike. We are going to have an incredible conversation with them on stage, and we're also going to have a fireside chat for which I will be sitting down and discussing fireside chat style with Chris Giancarlo about the U.S. dollar dominance and how to protect the U.S. dollar as we move into the fourth industrial revolution. You're not going to want to miss that conversation. I can tell you that right now. We've already talked about the talking points. Let's get into it. Get your ticket, because let me tell you something. VIP sold out already. I know that the Future of Digital Asset Benefit Dinner is really starting to go now too, so make sure you get your tickets for that as well. And the book to discount room link, the discount is built into this link, ladies and gentlemen. There's not many more rooms left. I think we have to cut those rooms off, I think like in April some point. So make sure you get your room if you haven't done it. There's a link with a built-in discount right in it. So get your ticket, get your GA ticket. It's going to be the most incredible thing, I'm telling you. And it's not going to be a repeat of last year. It's going to be very different. So let's get started here. These bank failures due to lack of loans will be epic. Make certain to have access to your funds. Plan ahead. This is excellent advice from Mr. Mann here. The Bank Term Funding Program we know is going to end March 11th. We are 1 day away from that. That is tomorrow. So look, I mean, how much longer till we see this show up as bank failures? I don't know. But we already saw some last year. So, you know, buckle up. There's a reason all of this is happening. Now, I don't need to play this whole clip. We know that Michael Saylor thinks anything but Bitcoin is a security. But we got news from Michael Saylor.
Their case against the SEC. This is an incredible event, a very important precedent of the SEC losing the biggest case that's been running for years, deeming that XRP and the trades and transactions that have occurred are not securities.
There you have it. And it goes on in the video. Shout out to XRP Drops. It's a fantastic video. But we have a lot to cover today, so we got to keep moving. Give all of them a follow. And I want to set the tone to remind you that XRP in and of itself is not a security. Okay? Now, let's hear from Perry Ann Boring here, who's talking to Tony from Thinking Crypto. Shout out to both of them. And she says she's gone from a 50-50 chance of getting stablecoin bill done to like 75% now.
What is your outlook Do you think we get stablecoin regulation at least this year, or the election is just too messy right now?
So my prediction or my guess before Janet Yellen's testimony on stablecoin bill becoming law was like 50-50. It's a coin toss. It's it seems that a deal has been made between Democrats and Republicans on the bill. That's the hardest thing. So if you can get that, you likely can move it through the legislative process. But what's complicated for a stablecoin bill is that stablecoins is not the priority of Congress today. I mean, if you just spend 5 minutes looking at the mainstream media, we've got a border crisis. We're involved in multiple wars, right? There's like just the government is not properly funded. They're fighting about much bigger things, and that's taking time on the legislative calendar. So is stablecoins going to be a high enough priority that they can fit it into the calendar to get it done? 50-50 shot. But after Secretary Yellen testified just a couple of weeks ago, she called to get a stablecoin bill done, which that to me, I would say that's going to help increase that prioritization of a stablecoin bill. So I'm now at like a 75% chance of getting it done. There's no for sure that's going to happen. There's just so many factors that go into what gets on the legislative calendar every day they're in session. But it is looking pretty optimistic. And again, the hardest thing is just to get, the politics all aligned. House and Senate, Democrats, Republicans, and the White House, or the administration. And that stuff appears to be in line. So can it move? We will know soon.
We will know soon. Now listen. Shout out to Perry Ann Boren for going out on a limb and saying the percentages she believes it will be. Now, we can't hold her feet to the fire, but we do appreciate the fact that that is the sentiment and the way she's gauging where things are. I want to remind you that obviously Janet Yellen is obviously the head of the Treasury, but she's also the head of FSOC. And remember, FSOC doesn't need, if they don't want to, if they can deem it to be a financial risk to the system, they could make regulation without Congress's approval. Write it down. That's the point that FSOC was created through the Dodd-Frank Act, right? So with that being said, I hope that Congress does it because, it is why they're there. It is their job. And I know that there's a lot of issues in front of Congress right now as well. However, stablecoin bill is a very, very important bill. And we're going to talk about why it's so important right now. One, I want to tell you about this. This is taxonomy right here. The digital taxonomy motion is accepted by the Global Markets Advisory Committee, the GMAC. Global cooperation on digital asset taxonomy is a big step forward, and it is. I don't know if you guys remember this, but, back in the day, Big Skinny would always tell me, he says, I know it's not sexy, but if you ain't got taxes figured out on a global stage, this thing ain't happening. Well, it looks like they've got that figured out. That's what this looks like to me. So this is hugely exciting right here. And I want to take you through the layout. This is a soft outline right here, a guide. Okay, this is taxonomy could guide future regulatory and policy decisions. So you could see they break down the digital asset type, instrument type, and instrument. So now you got this, and this is money and money-like digital assets. And inside of that is everything from CBDCs, wholesale or retail, tokenized deposits, bank deposits, deposit tokens, reserve-backed digital currencies, reserve-backed digital currencies here, and it says stable coins, you can see, and then financial digital assets, tokenized securities, or a digital twin of the actual physical instrument, right? Security token, digital native, tokenized derivative is a digital twin. You get the rest of it, right? Then alternative digital assets here. And it shows here commodities, carbon credits, tokenized real estate, another digital twin instrument, right? And then crypto asset. This is exciting because we're starting to see how regulators view the different use cases of these assets. This is where we need to be because it starts to really define exactly what is what. We're getting categories now. It's not up to Gary Gensler to come out and say something vague and then just claim the entire market is underneath of his purview. That's why I'm so excited here, and you should be too. Let's go on through this. So crypto assets, i.e. Bitcoin and Ether, they're non-redeemable digital native token with no rights conferred by the issuer. That's what we're looking at there. Meme coins fall under the same thing, crypto assets. And I have said over and over and over since the BIS has told us of the categories that they talked about, we better hope that XRP does not fall in this category, because I think it would be harmful for the banks in using it as in payments. Functional digital assets are rewards or governance tokens. Functional digital assets, right? Cannot be exchanged for value, provider's owner with a specific utility, right? This could be, what do they call it? Reward points, right? Airline miles, things of that nature were given as an example in the videos. Settlement controllable electronic record. This is a settlement token, not a deposit or financial instrument, often temporary, solely to transfer or record ownership or perform other middle back office financial functions. Now, this is interesting. Now, let's keep going here because I want to show you. This is the BIS, what they came out with late last year, which we looked at and said group 1, right, is where they talk about tokenized traditional assets. That's stocks, bonds, things of that nature, right? Derivatives. Group 1B is the crypto asset stabilization mechanism, i.e. stablecoins. But what it says here, new guidance on application of current rules to capture the risk relating to stabilization mechanisms with further consideration for capital add-ons. And then they show the example of Bitcoin and a 1,250% weight risk average. You do not want to be used for payments if this is the category you're falling under. Banks will be like, I'm not going to hold 1,250% above what I need to hold to make payments. That was put in to discourage banks from even touching this stuff. That's why it's so high of a weight risk, right? This is getting exciting to me, ladies and gentlemen, because here's the 9-minute, 30-second video, which breathe a sigh of relief. I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to take you through some of these segments. You can see here the stablecoins category here. And if I could, just because I'm curious at how all of this comes out someday in the future here. Stablecoins, privately issued money, digital tokens that aim to maintain a stable value relative to a peg specific by a reference asset, and designed to minimize value fluctuations relative to these reference assets. They are not issued by a central bank. They must also be at least fully backed by one or more assets specified under the specific regulatory framework, including cash, to one or a combination of fiat currency, securities, low risk, high liquidity securities, such as those classified as high quality liquid assets. So, when I'm seeing this, the door is open here, and we understand that the automated market maker vote just passed. And what is its job? It's a stabilization mechanism. It helps to eliminate the arbitrage and the slippage by tightening the range, making it more reliable as a store of value, because we already know it works very well as a medium of exchange and a unit of account. If you can make it more reliable store of value by the price not moving around as much, then you have done the job, haven't you? So this is going to get very, very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward here. I am super excited about this, but let me tell you, I'm way excited because I want to show you this. This is from years ago, probably 2018, 2019 timeframe. Maybe 27, but this is David Andolfado from the U.S. Federal Reserve in St. Louis at the time, and I want to show you this because he's going to mention delegating settlement through a third party like Ripple. Yes. Take a listen here.
That is, people say, how can you trust, the Fed to do the bookkeeping? I mean, like I said, my response is, well, you don't expect the Fed to kind of steal your money. I mean, if the Fed can print all the money it wants, it's not going to mess around with your bookkeeping. So, we have this big spreadsheet, the blockchain if you want, but it's just managed by the Fed, and it's very cheap, much cheaper than Bitcoin, if you're willing to delegate the responsibility to a third party. But then the downsides to all of that, of course, is you'd actually suppose you you didn't want the Fed to be responsible for processing the payments. I mean, suppose, the Fed will likely impose some KYC restrictions on some purchases. They might not process some purchases that you might want to undertake. And so it was at that point that I said, well, we could, if we wanted to, extend the concept one step further.
Listen.
I'm not saying that this is ever going to happen, but just conceptually, you could imagine not FedWire for all, but kind of like a Fedcoin, where what the Fed would do is actually just issue these, Bitcoin-like objects, but and they would enforce a par exchange rate with the U.S. dollar. That would eliminate the exchange rate volatility.
Listen, what he just said.
Bitcoin-like objects, but and they would enforce a par exchange rate with the U.S. dollar. That would eliminate the exchange rate volatility.
A par exchange rate. That, you know what I interpret that to mean? We could set a price tied and pegged to a U.S. dollar amount. A $10 bill, a $50 bill, a $200 bill. They could make up the currency amount, right? A $500 bill based on liquidity. Listen, keep listening.
But they could delegate the clearing of these payments to some third party, some sort of Ripple-like protocol or possibly.
And then he goes on to say Bitcoin, which we know that's not going to happen, right? But like a Ripple-like protocol. That's the same guy that also wrote the Fedcoin R3 report and talked about the idea of using an alternative way to create Fedcoin would be to pre-allocate the entire supply of tokens, say 100 trillion Fedcoin. This block would immediately be awarded to the central bank to be held in reserve until they are required. Ripple set the precedent for 100% pre-allocation. Yes, they did. At its inception, the entire 100 billion supply of XRP was created outright and retained by Ripple Labs, while the rest was auctioned off or given away. As a reduction in the supply, the central bank can store surplus crypto coins in its vaults. Makes you wonder what all those 1,700 contracts are for and who they actually went to. Because we know that they pre-allocated XRP. That's what the option contracts are. Who they're to, we don't know. How much they're for, we still don't know. But you know what? We're not supposed to know everything because we're retail investors, right? As much as it does with deposited banknotes that are still fit for a second go around, pre-allocating simplifies security requirements as no one has the ability to issue Fed coins. However, it is exceedingly difficult to change the supply later if demand is underestimated. A new coin, say Fedcoin 2.0, would have to be issued in order to complement the exhausted supply of Fedcoin 1.0, right? Which simply saying, they could decide to go forward with the actual Federal Reserve note, or maybe they create a second Fed note. Maybe it's a U.S. Treasury note that we've heard people talk about. How does the central bank put those coins into the economy? It swaps Fed coins for notes on demand at a fixed rate, which tells me if in this scenario that I'm thinking, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to have this talk. We're going to have this talk with Chris Giancarlo on stage at XRP Las Vegas. You wait. We're going to talk about the idea of using a cash-in, cash-out mechanism for introducing Fedcoin. A central bank ensures that the combined quantity of banknotes and Fedcoin remain ineffective. So, essentially, as Anafato describes it, this is what he says. The setup means that Fedcoin functions just like another currency denomination. For example, if the Federal Reserve were to introduce a $200 bill, which currently doesn't exist, for example, it would set a 2-to-1 peg between the $100 bill, 4-to-1 peg to the $50 bill, and a 200-to-1 peg between the $1 bill. And based on liquidity and utility, moving to the XRP ledger and the use of the DEX, the decentralized exchange, this is how the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury could work together to make sure that the United States dollar is dominant for the next 150 years without needing the petrodollar agreement. Take a walk, Saudi Arabia. We don't need you, right? That's what I see coming. Call me crazy, but this is what I see coming. The U.S. dollar is at 80 years in its lifespan as the world reserve currency. Portugal and Netherlands went down at 80 years when they served as the world reserve currency. How much longer does the U.S. dollar have, knowing that Saudi Arabia has joined BRICS and they're currently unwinding that position in that agreement right now? I'm not an expert, but I know this. You don't have forever. Now we're going into the Freedom Zone, and today we're going to continue this conversation with even more evidence that something is absolutely coming here, ladies and gentlemen, and involves censorship. And you won't believe it, but we're going to get into it here. And shout out to Digital Asset Investor who discovered this, shared it with his private group yesterday, and I'm going to share it with you today. And it is absolutely crucial that you understand this information and what's taking place, because I believe that this is the narrative that they don't want anybody talking about. They want you to talk about Shiba Inu and all these meme coins and things of this nature. They don't want you talking about the real reason that Ripple and XRP were brought to this world. But we're going to today. It's not financial advice from me or anyone else. Come on into the Freedom Zone, digperspectives.com. We're getting started right now.